Hello.
Hello, how are ya?
I'm doing well. I sent you an email that was going to be 10 minutes late, but I was able to get off this call. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick. I've been back to back.
Fine.
Thank you. Okay, happy Friday.
Friday. I've had meetings with three attorneys and now a podcast. So you're my favorite meeting of the day, definitely.
Oh my goodness. Why three attorneys? That sucks.
I know. Well, one of them's my dad, so I don't know if we'll count,
Okay.
but I did have to go over some things with him, and then an attorney about a potential patent and
Mm,
an issue with kind of a disgruntled previous employer, so or employee. I'm sorry. So yeah,
mm.
the joys of entrepreneurship.
Ooh, child. Yeah, it's a lot. I can't say it's been a busy day. Fridays are a podcast day, so we try to do things in bulk, but then in between of I usually don't do this, but we have this big RFP we went out for New York. We do a lot of partnerships with economic development
Oh, cool.
and we deliver programming. And so we already have one deal with New York, but in true entrepreneur fashion and Alex fashion, I'm very competitive. So I'm like, oh, there's one more deal I want to get done by the end of the year. So I have I put the team together for that, and so one of the girls I had to have a call with her, so everyone's prepared for this interview we're going to do. So yes, it's been a day, but you're actually my last, and it's great because I like to tell these stories. So why not?
Yes, it's a fun story. It really is.
Yes, well, I'm excited. Well, I'll just give you a high level and then we can kick it off. But yeah, a little bit about our audience. They think of us as their business BFF. If they were literally, with girlfriends having a glass of wine, and on this podcast, we talk the way we would talk to our friends. So people are like, can I curse? I'm like, talk the way you would talk if no one were looking, you know? So you can say it however you would say it, have your own person. I know each podcast has its own vibe.
Yeah.
Ours is more playful and fun and really real, and our audience comes to us for that because they're like we listen to a lot of business stuff, but sometimes it gets really dull. So yeah,
Like,
we try to bring a little color.
I feel like so often people are not very transparent. So
No, they're not.
audience enjoys that.
Yes. So we love transparency. We love the real. So yeah, before we kick it off, do you have any questions for me?
I don't. I looked over the questions and I would say I glanced at them, but I also
It's
kind of wanted it
okay.
to be organic and like on the fly and not like such a canned response, if you will. So
I love this. The only reason we send these questions is there was someone I interviewed today, and and that's how her brain works, and I appreciate that. And she wanted them in advance. She had asked a couple times, and that's why we do, because we do have some personalities like that. And like they like to be able to refer back. And I remember like I threw in one that I was like, because it was organically coming up, and I remember she paused. I was just like, girl, I let people know we can go off script, but everyone's different. But I'm similar to you. I live between Mexico City and New York. And so there's this Mexican university here that wants me to come speak next week. And they're like, oh, we'll send things. I'm like, do not send me questions in advance. I'm organic. Don't send me anything. I don't want it. So,
sometimes that's good and bad. Sometimes it means you can get long-winded. Sometimes it means
yeah.
topic. You can get go off in a whole nother direction. But yeah, that's just how I do it.
I'm the same. I'm like my mom's who's an attorney. She's like, you're just like your dad. Like, I'm like, I can tell a story, honey, but it might go a little long. A little long. But amazing. Well, you ready to kick it off?
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right.
This meeting is being recorded.
Lacey, welcome to Get Shit Done.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm really excited, truly.
No, thank you so much for being here. Also, I forgot to say this when we were just keying, but her hair is laid right now. It's like the layers are out. I love it.
I just had my appointment. I finally made time to go make that happen last night. And so I will pass the word along to my hairdresser. She'll love it.
She did a great job. So we love to kind of settle into the space and kind of do a check-in with folks. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling in this moment, 10 being the highest in your business?
Oh, goodness gracious. I would say I am probably at like a 7.
Okay, why a 7?
So I feel like things are headed in the right direction, but I feel like
Mm.
there's still a lot of work to do.
That is one of my favorite responses to this question.
Yeah.
Also, before we recorded, she was saying she had all these calls with attorneys today, and I'm like, you're for being at a 7 for talking to all these attorneys is quite magnificent. But here's why I love this answer is I have been in this moment, and I've said this on some of our other episodes, where I'm in this integration period of transforming for my next level. And my brain is comprehending that, like, not everything, like, I used to think, oh, when good things are happening, you're feeling happy all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, great things are happening, but I just feel
Yes.
like it just,
Well,
because there's more to go. There's more to go. And it's okay because you don't have to be happy all the time.
my sister, who is in her 20s and so smart and savvy, she told me one time, I thought this was like the best quote I've ever heard. She said, in the video games, right before you level up, all of the enemies come out.
Damn, put it on a
I
shirt,
was
Lacey
like,
sister.
that is some crazy knowledge that I wouldn't have had at 25, but I was like that, you pretty much nailed it. And that is so true. Every time in my business, personally, I can only speak for me, but every time in my business, right before I kind of level up in some way, it's like all this stuff just starts happening. I don't know if it's like the universe's way of either preparing you or testing you to see if
Mm,
you're ready. But I'll just give you some really good examples. In the last
yes.
week, in my personal life, my car that's only 3 years old died. My
Woo.
refrigerator that's only 3 years old died. Last
Wow.
night, my website crashed in the middle of our launch, our fall
Mm,
launch. And I know I'm missing something else. Those are just the big ones. And so,
yeah.
point being, I feel like right before you're like about to like crest that next level, it's just it's this way for me every time.
I love this so much. And I know this is a privilege to say this, I'm gonna text this to my grandmother, who is a God-fearing woman. But she will love this because in my family is very Christian. Identify as spiritual.
Yeah,
And so there's some crossover, right? And
sure.
like I love that, like being able to say, that's how I feel right now. I'm like, I feel like I'm being tested in certain ways and I'm not reacting the way I used to, which
Yeah.
I feel I'm like, this is my level up, that
Yeah.
I'm not reacting, but it does take a strain. So when you're seeing the enemies, it's like, I am not being so reactive, yet it can be draining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, all these, and this is what happens with growth too. I think a lot of times we ask for growth, but think about puberty. Puberty was so uncomfortable. And the outcome is like we had our glow up, it was just like, it's just like we went out of the awkward, or I don't know what the puberty was like for you, but like I know for me, it was like I went through this little awkward phase and it
Oh,
was just
yeah.
like she got her hair did, but it was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. And
So
so it was just like, I love that. Right before you get to the next level, the enemies come out.
that's true.
Mm.
And I've learned kind of in this 4 year process, like used to, I would say I wanted to like fight everything that came up. And that just really burns a lot of energy,
Yep, same.
emotional and otherwise. And so what I kind of learned, I hate to be cheesy and make like a saltwater reference or whatever, or ocean reference, but I kind of think about it like with a riptide. They always say you don't fight a riptide because
Let it
you
go.
literally get exhausted fighting it and drown. And so you just kind of let it take you. And I don't mean like take you over completely, but just enough to where you're not like fighting so hard. You need to like save your energy, I feel like, as an entrepreneur, and like really choose your battles.
I love this. There's this amazing storytelling series I go to in Mexico City called Cuéntame, and they have a theme every month, and you get to tell a story for 3 minutes based on that theme.
Mhm.
And one of them was about letting go.
Yeah.
And I'm in this. We hear this all the time: let go, let go. And so when I am in town, because I go between New York and Mexico City, when I am in town, I'm just like, I'm going to Cuéntame because I like to go up and tell stories because it also helps me with my own stage presence and just storytelling. I think it's important for every leader to be able to do.
100.
And it's just cathartic for me. I was a theater kid. So I remember for the letting go one, I gave this story about on my 18th birthday, my mom took me and my cousin to Cabo. Cabo is known for really big waves.
I've
A
been,
lot of parts of the beaches you can't even swim in because it's just like these are intense waves. So I could swim, but I didn't know how to swim back when a wave is coming and it takes you over. And I remember all my friends knew to go under. I didn't get the memo. So this big wave came and snatched me up. And I don't know what in my 18-year-old brain, and it was my 18th birthday, mind you,
oh my.
gave me the discernment to literally let go. I had a few drinks because you're 18, you can drink in Mexico.
Right.
I had a few drinks that day. And I literally remember this big wave snatched me up and it was just swirling me around. And I literally just let go of my arms and I just let the wave do whatever. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, it's my 18th birthday and I could die. And I do recall though, right before it got really quiet and peaceful.
Yeah.
And when I let go and I just felt like the whirl of the water and the sand, and then the wave just spat me out. And good Lord, all of Mexico could see all my goods, but I didn't care. I was alive. So,
I
um,
I have been to Cabo, and you are like right on the money with your description
yes,
of the waves. I feel like those waves will kill you for sure.
they will kill you. But this goes back. It's like a lot of these things in our life and entrepreneurship really test us. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just let go and not react and fight so much. There
Yeah.
are definitely times you got to fight, but I feel like I have been in fight mode for so much of my career.
Yes.
And now I'm in this place where I'm like, I actually don't need to fight as much because I've done enough to create my mode. I've done enough. So it's hard though when you've been trained to be a fighter of
Yes.
how can you just rest and release, and that's the discomfort for me right now. But I'm excited to feel more peace at some point.
I think you can't put a price on peace. I
You
mean,
can't.
it's definitely like a currency, if you will. And so
Absolutely.
I think for me, just learning in the 4 years, not to fight every fight that comes along, and kind of, like you said, use your discernment to say, which ones am I going to stop and like put my foot down and say, no, I'm going to do something, and which ones am I just going to let take me and follow it where it goes. So
Yes.
it's,
Well, Lacey, I feel like I can talk to you all day about all of this, but this interview is about you. So I love to give people context and take it back. So what was little Lacey like? Like, what did she want to be when she grew up? I love asking this question
I
to
was
people.
never one of those like kids, and I love these kids that like you ask them, you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're like, they know. They're like very.
Yeah.
I was not that kid. I liked everything. And like even now, I can think of like so many different occupations I think would be fun or interesting. So I would say I never was like, there's one. But what I will say is I always was really into, truly into like fashion, dressing up, like boutique type clothes, as a teenager on up into college. I truly was like, honestly, this is almost embarrassing, but my senior superlative in high school was best dressed. Like that's
Love it.
always been my thing. And
Mhm.
interestingly enough, even though I never like expressed a desire to go into fashion, never really verbalized that in any way. When I graduated high school, they did like, where will everybody be in 20 years? And the person who did that, and I'm actually trying to find this footage, but the person who did that exercise for our class, they said that I would have a clothing brand.
Wow.
And I had never expressed that, to anybody before or really since that until I kind of started this brand. So I just thought that was really funny. I guess must have always been something in there that was kind of like leading me in that direction because other people could see it. And I've just truly always enjoyed fashion, I guess I would say.
I love this. This actually makes me think of college and high school where people were like, this is what you'll be. I was so pissed at the time when I got this though in high school. The most likely to was someone said I would be a video vixen, which was very interesting because I'm like, thank you so much for thinking I'm hot, cool. But also, I was a very smart kid, and like now things have progressed. But when you were put in that category, I'm just like, I'm like, do you realize I'm one of the top people, like the top students in our class?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by that? And I was really deeply offended.
Oh,
And kids will be kids, whatever.
yeah.
But now that I look back on it, and even as I got to college, people are like, "Oh, you'll be running something," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm running a business, and a part of what we do is in media, and I have to be on. I'm constantly on video. I'm constantly doing whatever, and I'm just like." Okay, okay. And also the way we relate to those things now. Now I'm like, a video vixen's fucking dope. But the context of that timing where
Yeah,
I'm just like, that could be construed as negative. So
exactly.
I love that you brought that up, and that good omen for you. So
I've got to find that footage. I actually posted in our like
so
class
cool.
Facebook page and was like, hey, if anybody has this recorded, I would love to see it. But yeah, that's 100% true story. But yeah, I honestly
Mm,
feel like going back, something was kind of always like leading me down that path. And
okay.
in college, my first degree is in business, but I had actually thought the college I went to, which is Georgia Southern, it's a school
Mm,
here in Georgia, but they had a fashion merchandising degree. And I was like, oh my God, that
mm,
would be really cool. And I thought about it some, but I just felt like the job market with that was going to be so intense. And so I was like, I'll just get a general business management degree. Well, joke's on me because that was a really interesting degree to graduate with in 2010 when all the recession business was going on. But
mm.
I truly do think there was always something kind of leading me in that direction, whether I was
Yeah.
purposely taking the step or not.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a good omen. Someone's like, you're gonna have a fashion brand. You went to schooling. So what got you to Saltwater Boys? Like, what was that moment where you're like, I need to do this thing, and why did it matter to you?
Okay, so very crazy story, 100% true. So I had the business degree, worked in several jobs in business fields like managing accounts, banking, things like that, for about 6 years. And I came home one day and I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to go to school to be a nurse. And he was like, have you quite literally lost your mind? And I was like, oh, I really just feel compelled in my soul that like I'm supposed to be a nurse. So I went to nursing school, went back for my second degree in nursing. And I guess I was in my late 20s when I did that. Got my RN, started practicing as a nurse. I worked 3 years in hospice, in home hospice. So you go in people's homes when they're at the end of their life.
Ooh, that's rough.
You go
Wow.
to people's homes at the end of their life and like provide support for them and or their family. Honestly,
Mm.
the most gratifying job I had
Really?
ever had in my entire life, hands down.
I
Like
feel like I would be so emo and sad.
it takes the right person. Now, if you're
Right.
a person where when a stranger starts crying, you start crying, it is not for you
Not
because
for you. Yeah.
you have to be the person who walks in a room when everybody else is losing their bananas and
Yeah.
like you kind of keep it cool and calm. And so I have always been that way. I've never been like overly emotional in the sense of crying. So, long story short, I worked for 3 years in hospice, loved that job. I got so much more from that job than I gave that job, if that makes sense. Like it literally changed me fundamentally as a person.
Wow. So cool.
Um, Very cool job. So then I went to work at the local hospital at the beginning of 2021 in January, I'm sorry, 2020 in January, and literally COVID hit in like February, March. So I started my job at the hospital as a nurse literally like 2 months before COVID hit. And again, my husband was like, Laci, are you kidding me? You started working at the hospital in the middle of right before a pandemic. So I just kind of pulled my big girl straps up and worked all during COVID at the hospital. I was so burned out. I mean, as
Of
was
course.
every healthcare worker. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was overworked, underpaid,
Mm.
lack of supplies, all the things. And so this is about July 2021. So we've been rocking on with COVID a year and a half at the hospital. I was home on maternity leave with my new baby. And I really think I just needed like a creative outlet, if that makes sense. I was like, I need something like fun that I can kind of express my creativity. So
And you're like saving lives all day. It's a lot.
it's
Like so
heavy.
much
It's
death and
heavy.
sickness. Yeah.
Yes. And when I was at the hospital, and a little different with like hospice patients, and I say this with like complete respect for the profession and the patients. When somebody's on hospice, you unfortunately kind of know that they are more than likely, according to statistics and to doctors, like things are not going well, so to speak. When somebody's in the hospital, a lot of times you don't necessarily know that. So you're like hopeful,
Uncertain.
you're
Yeah.
rooting for them and you're whatever, and then when that doesn't work out, it's very sad. And I think sometimes healthcare workers specifically really internalize those types of things. So anyway, I really was looking for that outlet, and I told Brandon, my husband, I said, I'm going to buy a $200 heat press and I'm going to start making t-shirts and post them in these Facebook mom groups I was already in. And so the first month we posted one crab t-shirt literally sold like, I want to think it was like $17,000 worth of the shirt. So I'm going to the hospital, he's going to his job, we're coming home at night in the closet, like printing these shirts like crazy people, shipping them all over the place. So he was like, that's really interesting. I wonder if you could do it again. And so I was like, no, we couldn't do it again. That was just something weird, like whatever. And he's like, no, let's try. So we did it again. And the second month, like the same thing. So the third
Off
month,
of just one shirt.
one shirt. So the
Wow.
second month, we did a second design. So we had two at this point.
Mm.
So the third month, stores, retail stores who were in these Facebook mom groups, they started reaching out to me and they were like, will you wholesale your shirts to us? And I was like, I don't really know how to do that, kind of to myself. And so
We
we were
gonna find out.
we're gonna figure it out. And so, so the third month, the wholesale business was born. And then month 6, I was in Atlanta at America's Mart in 2 showrooms. And we picked up our first 30 wholesale accounts and we were off to the races after that.
This is amazing. And I love how you broke all of this down. Okay. Let's go back to that initial traction. So,
Yes.
one product, because I think the thing is, especially in the retail category, I think people are like, we need to have a lot of stuff. But I'm like, you when you're starting out, you can't afford that. That's a
No.
lot. Holding inventory or whatever it's a lot. So, for you, you said mommy groups to
Yes.
get that initial traction. Can you
Yes.
walk the audience through what did that look like in that month 1 and month 2? So you had one SKU and then month 2 you had 2 SKUs and you were going into mommy groups. What did it look like? And that was that your only traction channel, like just going
That
into
was
these
it. Literally Facebook mom groups. And I can even tell you the biggest one, I don't know if it's still out today because I'm not in the group anymore, but the group was called Boys Rock Smocks. Boys Rock Smocks.
smocks? Okay.
And then there was, I'm just paraphrasing. That one sticks in my brain for a couple reasons, but there was like uh boys high-end consignment maybe, or mom's boys resale group, something like that.
Very niche. Sounds
Yes.
niche.
I was
Okay.
I was in several of these and had
Mhm.
organically been in them because I have
Mm.
all boys. And so I had, like, when we would buy an outfit, maybe not wear it, and it was brand new still, or just had the tags going, I would sell it in those groups. So I really knew those groups, participated in them, was familiar with them and all the things. And so kind of used those that I already was in and knew about and put my product in there. Now, I would say since that time, I've really personally noticed that a lot of those groups have moved towards like monetization, where you pay like an amount to post every month or whatever. And so, but at that time, it was kind of the wild, wild west. You
Yeah,
could,
were you were just able to post whatever?
yeah, you're
So when
like,
you posted, what did you say?
I would say like, here's this. Well, it was a t-shirt at that
Oh,
time.
that's cute.
But it was like, here's this t-shirt. We have it in sizes, 2T to 1012. It's $15. Place your order now, whatever. And they would comment and say, like, I want a size 2, and here's my email. And then I would invoice them. And then at that time, I was like literally writing out their name like on their label. I didn't even have a label printer. So it was like handwritten like label when I would ship it to them. But
And what were you invoicing with?
PayPal
I love
invoice.
it. I love this. This is why I love telling these stories, especially in the beginning, because it's a lot of unscalable stuff. So many people are like, we have to have all these fancy gadgets and whatever. And I'm just like, no, you just need to prove and validate that people want this before you invest all of the stuff.
Proof of concept. And like I was
Yes.
telling somebody this other day, obviously, as you can imagine, I have like tons of conversations with people all the time about different facets of the business of the story and etc. And I said, I love, truly, I'm so serious. I
Mm.
love when people sit down and they're like, I have a plan, I have a budget, like this is how I'm going to build my business. I love that. But for me, that is all I can really speak to of my experience. That is not what happened. It was like completely reverse engineering. Like, try this worked. Okay, keep doing more of that. Okay, that didn't work. Scrap that, start over. So it wasn't this like organized, formal, tied up in a bow with all the bells and whistles thing. Mine was like,
Most people aren't.
yeah,
Most people aren't.
yeah.
I think we hear a lot of stories and like with really good intentions. There's a lot of great resources that I wish more people would utilize, especially local, like business development centers where you can sit down with people and they can walk you through it. And that's amazing. I remember actually my first business, I actually leveraged that and sat down and got just a bare minimum. But this 10-year thing, I'm like, for example, no one could predict COVID. No one could, like, life's gonna throw you things. What is that thing? You make plans, God laughs, or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah.
So I love that you reverse engineered. You're just going in and just saying, hey, does anyone want this? All these moms are reaching out to you. You get approached by wholesale, which is amazing. How did when you got approached by them, did you learn how they heard about you? Was it through moms or were they in the
It was
groups?
through the groups. So they said, I can remember specifically, and I still sell to one of the very first that reached out. They
Mm,
private messaged me on Facebook and said, I saw you in Boys Rock Smocks. I love what you're doing. Will you sell to me? And you have to keep in mind, we have to, as much as we want to forget the COVID, I think that that is a very important piece of this story for a lot of reasons, because
timing.
if we go back,
Mm,
all of the big brands were really unable to get product in the US. A lot of the, ports and factories all shut down, or the ships were just sitting at sea. And these stores are struggling to get products to sell. And all I did was just buy blanks that I was able to source domestically. They were already here in the United States. And then take the heat press and the blank and the heat transfer, marry those all together, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, I could print on demand and had no waste. And I was able to make decisions quickly because I was like a team of 1, 2 if you count my husband. So
yeah.
it really was a timing COVID thing, I think. I think if I
Yeah.
tried today, I don't know that I could get the traction that I got then, to be honest with you.
And thank you for this transparency. And this is why timing and context matters. It's like, for example, when people talk about virality in the 2010s, I'm just like, it was the Wild West.
Yeah.
Apps were popping up everywhere. They didn't really have guidelines. Now things are more monetized. There wasn't as much ads and things like that. It is completely different. It's interesting you did this press, because my brother-in-law did something similar in his house. My sister was like, well, here's what my husband's doing, and then he went again straight to social media with our community and people just ordered from him. So
Yeah.
I love this point you made though around if timing were different, you don't know if you would have gotten traction. And it sounds like you're in different places now. So for founders listening in that are like, okay, I'm getting blocked from these groups on Facebook or they want me to pay or whatever, what would you recommend based on what you're trying out today organically for them to start? Let's start first with online.
Hmm.
If they want to get more organic reach online for a founder in 2025,
Yeah.
what would you be suggesting are some of the platforms to utilize?
Work the heck out of your social media. Like you better be posting on social media like your job depends on it because it does. I think
Mm.
there is so much organically you can do today with social media before you ever even spend a dollar. I did
Right.
not start spending money on paid advertising until October of 2024. So
Yeah.
literally like, less than a year ago. Up until
Yeah.
that point, it was as grassroots, scrappy, do it DIY, if you want to call it that, as it possibly could be. And
Mm.
I really think that people like that.
No, they do.
I
It's
think
authentic.
I'll even give you an example on Facebook, which we've only started been running paid ads on Facebook since October. But we put this beautiful, like highly stylized lifestyle video out there. We tested it in a bunch of different audiences on Meta. It was not converting. We put together one that was just that my website slash marketing girl of 4 years did in her backyard in a pool, and it got like 13,000 views like that.
Yep. Lo-fi.
Yes. And so I think
Lo-fi.
that the customers today are not as focused on like this beautiful, perfect stylized. Like I really think they like and lean into like the real and the transparency. And that's the part as like a person and as a business, that's always scary and like so vulnerable to show people like behind the scenes because not that you're pretending to be something you're not, but of course you want to be perceived as like taken serious and things like that. And so sometimes being vulnerable, showing the behind the scenes and all of those like not perfect moments, that's so scary. But for me,
Yeah.
that's always what resonates. Like it's
Yeah.
hilarious when I post those like real things, the customer just knows.
I think what people love too, it's like, think of even these big platforms like a Shein or whatever,
Mhm.
is a lot of how they are getting people to purchase is user generated content.
Yes.
Because a lot of times what people want to see is what does it look like in the wild?
Yeah.
Like not this pretty, because a lot of times what we see with these high end type of, ad campaigns, that what that looks like on that model most likely ain't gonna look like that on you.
Yes.
Or they're doing a lot of Photoshop and then you get the product in person and you're like, this is completely different. And
Yeah.
so I think people are really valuing what does it actually look like out and about. So I love that you mentioned lo-fi content. And I think the great thing is for entrepreneurs in the space, or actually in any space, people, you don't need to get a big grand production to pull
Oh,
these things off.
you don't.
So social media is doing really well for you. When you think about like your cadence for posting and such, like what does that look like in terms of your engagement? What do you all do?
In a perfect world, I would like to post, on all platforms once daily. That would be a perfect world. I
What are all platforms for you? Obviously,
so
Facebook, Instagram.
yeah, so Facebook and Instagram, and then also TikTok. And so I'm a
Okay.
little later to the game on TikTok, but I really have been trying to put the effort in. And I have again noticed when I post, things that are like me sitting here at the office holding my, newborn. And I'm like, oh, it's, trying to think a hard day, juggling being a mom and a business owner or something like that, just real short little clip and just like a little video of him and me sitting in here, it'll go crazy. And then
Wow.
if I sit there for 2 hours trying to get like this perfect imagery or angle or video or whatever, and plan it all out, I feel like it never performs. So I
Yep.
think I think it's the key, like you said, is like authenticity, transparency, and then showing up. Like I think that's really important that you're regularly posting on those platforms.
I love this. Okay, so social.
Yeah.
Now, if we move over to wholesale,
Mhm.
Yours was in a blip in time because timing wise, these stores really needed inventory. Now, fast forward a few years, we're back kind of back at it. What would you recommend to entrepreneurs now who are trying to get wholesale accounts?
So for me, I think the reason I was so successful in the wholesale space early on, not only the timing, which we discussed, but I also invested huge resources in going to trade shows. So I went to Atlanta, which is America's Mart. That's like one of the larger markets in the Southeast, I would say. I know up in, New York, excuse me, New York, they've got some really big ones, but down here, that's the big one. And so I invested a lot of resources early on going to those shows, which are very expensive. I think that was a big piece. And then also we went to the Surf Expo.
Mm,
We did smaller regional shows as well, but I do really believe in trade shows to establish your presence and pick up new wholesale accounts. The only caveat is trade shows are tough. If you just show up and bring all the goods and yourself and you're all cute and you're standing there and you're waiting on the buyers to come, more than likely it's not going to happen. For trade shows, I
mm.
strongly feel that the outcome of the show lies in the prep work. So I found that when I would really put time into that prep work, like reaching out to buyers, prospecting, um, sharing a lot about the show. Hey, we're going to this show in a week. We're showing this collection, like really working all those angles. That makes a huge, huge difference.
Yes. This is something in my last company when we would go to trade shows as well to find new brands. That was the biggest thing. We were looking at who's on the list and would already have targets versus just we're just going to go and see.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do meet people where you're like, oh, maybe they weren't on the list or we just overlooked them. But we were planned in advance, like, here's who's going to be there. And then we would plan out this is when we're going to go. We would have a schedule. We would try to even a lot of times their emails would be prepared. So we were like, hey, we want to come at this time to already have the introduction
Yeah.
so we could make it meaningful. So I totally agree with the prep work. When you think about trade shows, on average, you said it's a big investment.
Mhm.
What are you typically investing in these? And then with that being said, what is an average ROI that you're seeing to warrant this investment?
Sure. So I would say for us, with the shows we went to, you're looking at on average, and it's going to depend on the show. The smaller regional shows are going to be less expensive. The larger shows, like Magic, as an example, I've actually never been to that show, but
It's
you're
huge. That's huge.
yeah,
Woo.
yeah. So, anyway, I would say 5,000 would be average for like an entry level booth. And I know like when I would go to the Surf Expo as an example, there would be booths that were just unbelievable. I mean, took like a week to construct kind of thing and like whole entire team. So that's obviously an entirely different price point than
Those are
like
big brands, yeah.
5,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would say you can get your foot in the door for 5. Really got to focus on that prep work. That's going to be the difference. People,
Yeah.
and they're like, it was an awful show. I didn't see anybody. I was like, well, what did you do like to get ready for the show? And they're like, oh, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, it doesn't
You
quite work.
gotta hunt.
Yeah.
You gotta hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5K, and where were you all getting the capital to fund this?
That's a very good question. So, as I mentioned, when we first started the business, I was working as a nurse. My husband was working for Georgia Power, which is an electric company, and he'd been there for like 10, 15 years. And we had flipped a bunch of houses and gotten really, really lucky in the area we lived in, which was St. Simon's at the time, and made a couple of really good flips and had a really good nest egg. We
Good.
also had retirement accounts. And
Mm,
so we have completely top to bottom funded our own business. Now, to date, I would say we've personally invested probably around 500,000 that we made either flipping real estate or retirement. Um, we didn't go and dump all of that in initially. So as we've like grown and scaled, we've of course added along and along, but I guess the difference in me and a lot of people is we personally bootstrapped it start to finish. have taken no bank investments, no investors. It's 100% owned by me. And I have also worked some with a group that I want to really promote because I just really have enjoyed working with them and they're amazing. And that is Wayflyer. If you don't
Okay.
know them, check them out. But they have also really helped me fund my group as well. They focus on like sales revenue based funding.
Yes, revenue-based financing is huge, especially when you have inventory. A
Yeah.
lot of times you need to have like a certain revenue threshold for them to be able to warrant the risk. It's usually like, I think at least 10,000 a month, but there's a lot of great platforms out there like that. Yeah.
So I have worked with them for, I guess, a year to 2 years. And as you know, my revenue has grown and I've scaled, obviously they've offered more and more. So back to
And
your,
you get better terms. Yeah.
yes. And back to your original question, anytime I kind of wanted to make like um growth in the business and maybe I didn't have the resources personally to do that, because again, I've put it all in the business, it's all in one, then I could work with them as a partner and get the money I needed to do whatever the project was, open another storefront, open a showroom, open the second storefront, whatever the case was. And so that has really been huge for me. Now, again, that didn't happen day one, that took proof of concept, that took showing increasing revenues in Shopify, year over year, month over month. But anyway, that's
That's
what's
how financing works. Yeah. So, okay. We started, this was 2020, 2021.
2021 July.
Okay. It's 2025, August, almost September.
Yeah.
Been a few years now. We came out the gate doing about $17,000. We're able to repeat that month two. You had wholesalers coming to you. A few years later now, fast forward, seven-figure business.
Yeah.
In this time, you already had children. You had
Yes.
an unplanned pregnancy.
Yes.
And I'm curious for our audience, we have a lot of moms, and moms to me are some of the best entrepreneurs.
They're my favorite entrepreneurs.
Y'all know how to manage your time, your resources. Mamas can get it done.
Oh man, they
Oh
rule.
my
So
goodness.
women in general rule the world, and
For
I
sure. Like the world would implode without us. Like you're welcome in.
so true. But I feel like moms are like the max
Next level.
of the multitasker. Like we can
Next level.
baby bottle while we're having a meeting, while we're placing a purchase order. And like, that's just the nature of momming. You have to be able
Yeah,
to do that.
you know how to like instinctively prioritize. So we have a lot of moms.
Love.
And I think a taboo topic often that we don't talk enough about, yet women feel in general, is in this process of building your business. And this is kind of accidental for you.
100% accident. I say that
100% accidental.
like, I'm like, yeah, it really was.
Yeah, yeah. So in this journey so far, have there been any moments where you're like, I feel like a shitty mom because of the business?
Like multiple times a week. I can't even tell you.
When
But
does that pop up for you? Because I think this is something so many people feel, but we just don't talk enough about out loud so people don't feel alone.
and when you start having conversations with authentic, transparent people, I have found in my experience that the majority of other people are feeling and experiencing things you are, but they're just scared to be vulnerable and share that. But once you like let that guard down and start talking about something like mom guilt as an example, everybody will be like, oh my gosh, me too. I thought it was just me. So that's kind of like the dirty thing, I guess, about having those feelings. You think it's just you. Well, when
Yeah.
you start talking to authentic people, you're like, oh my gosh, it's not just me. So there's some reassurance in that, and that we're not alone, I think. But no, I 100% have that.
When does that come up for you though?
I would say for me, it comes up during like the busiest, most stressful periods. So every year, twice a year, we have these two huge wholesale shipping periods where we are shipping out all of our wholesale orders for that season. So for me, that literally has been the last 10 days of my life. We have been shipping out these wholesale orders. And so my kids kind of know, unfortunately, that during that time, we are going to be at the office on the weekends during that time. We're going to be here after school. We're going to be here late. And that really, really stinks. And we don't like that. Nobody does. But that allows us to then go on that trip to Disney. And so I have really tried to like instill in my children that with growing a business, whether they choose to go down, this business path or they choose their own business, which would be fine. I've really tried to instill in them like, when you have a business, you have to make sacrifices, you have to work hard, you're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable so that you can go do some fun things too later. And so
Yes.
that's kind of the connection I've tried to draw. But yeah, it's very real. And I have to just
Yeah.
kind of, realize that I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect mom. I'm doing my best. It's my first time at it too. And just keep the lines of communication open with our 12-year-old. Our 4-year-old doesn't really understand as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
But with the 12-year-old, I just kind of try to explain to him, like when we have to do things like that, give it context, not just say this is what it is and that's all there is to it. And so hopefully
Mm.
it's building in him a good work ethic. And
Yeah.
then and teaching him some lessons. And he works
Yeah.
here in the warehouse, like obviously not during school hours, but on the weekends and after school and things like that, he'll be in here pulling orders and you
That's
know,
amazing.
and things like that. So it has, while the mom guilt is real, it has also allowed me opportunities to be at things for him that I might not get to if I worked a traditional 8 to 5 job. So I
Yeah.
also try to point that out as well.
I love this. I
Yeah.
actually just had this conversation with my mom. Growing up, their generation was told like, do as I say,
Yeah.
like with the children. And I was telling her something that, way back when I'm like, it would have been really helpful to just understand why, you don't have to over explain yourself to me because you're the parent, right? But I think kids, when given like left to our own devices, we're going to come up with our own stories if we don't understand context, to your point. And so we can create a story that our parents aren't, they're not trying to create for us. But I also realized, even talking to my mom, that some things were a point of shame too for her. So her being able to say, this is what we're doing, it was, her feeling like I'm failing here. So I'm wondering for you, and my friend Tiffany Dufu wrote a great book about this, Drop the Ball, is what are the things since you've had this business of around mom guilt
Mhm.
that you've given yourself permission to drop the ball and or just say, you know what? I don't need to be perfect at this.
Yes.
And that's okay. Has there been anything that's come up for you where you're like, I'm giving myself this permission?
110%. I would say I'm like a self-proclaimed, like a little OCD, a little perfectionist, control freak, like all that kind of rolled in one. I know that sounds super exciting. And so I always have wanted my house to be like perfect. My kids to be like just outfit to the nines, hair, fresh haircut, all the things. I have in this like journey as a business owner, I have really had to like completely flip the script with that. Some days I go home and like I told my husband, I was like, I cannot even believe this house looks like this. Like I cannot believe the mountain of laundry. I can't believe the things that like never I would have allowed before. And you just kind of flip into survival mode and you're like, is everybody fed? Does everybody have clean bed to get into and all the things they need, whatever, then that's a win and we're moving on. And so
Mm,
um, I don't know if that's being a business owner, if that's just like general getting older and maturity or wisdom. I don't know. But I think that has honestly just, it's been a big change for me in this journey, but probably made me better because
yeah.
it's really not worth it to stress yourself out about, the little tiny things, the house being perfect, whatever. As long as everybody's fine, fed, happy, that's what matters.
We got the basics. And
Yeah.
honestly, if there's anything, I don't have children. My sister has four. And if there's anything I've seen, even with them, and even when I was a kid, was the kids are happy when the parents are happy.
Yes.
Like, and when the parents are happy to be able to parent, and to show up and be full humans, right? So
Yes.
it's like, I don't have to be perfect. And I don't think your children are ever asking you for that. They're
No.
asking you, can you be present with me? And if presence means I might not be able to get to those dishes, your kid don't care, not one damn bit. So I love this. I'm curious for you, what has been one of the hardest moments for you in entrepreneurship so far? And there's probably lots, but one that sticks out for you, and what do you feel like it's taught you about yourself?
I think, gosh, that is such a good question. Mm. I think one of the hardest times, honestly, was probably in that first year when we were, you know, really shooting in the dark for all intents and purposes. And I felt like I had like a blindfold on and I was literally like trying to climb a mountain in the dark. I swear that's what I felt like. But I think a lot of that stemmed from like just not being able to get blank t-shirts, or not being able to get transfers, not being able to get the things we needed. And so we would do this really great job of like selling in these groups. And then I would be like, okay, I've got all my little orders. I need to order 100 shirts in this color that I've already sold and like couldn't get that color shirt. Or, okay, I've got the shirts I need transfers, couldn't get the transfers. And that kind of thing still happens today, just on like a little different level, because obviously we're not making the stuff anymore. But I think just kind of learning to navigate, kind of putting it all together. That was like very painful. Because like I said, we would be so proud because we had like sold them, but then couldn't get what we needed to like make it happen. And so
That's real.
I think that I think that was really something that took a lot of getting used to, especially as a control freak, because you just want to make it happen and make it be right and make it be perfect yesterday. And so I really think that that was definitely took some adjustment on my end, learning to just kind of flow with it.
Ooh, and as an overcoming perfectionist myself, I can tell you, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur. I mean, this is my third company now, but it is humbling and it puts that sense of perfectionism in your face because it's like there's never enough time and it's constantly going to be in your face that it won't be perfect. So
Yeah.
I love that.
I look back at the stuff that we did initially sometimes and I kind of cringe a little. I'm
And
like,
girl, you still
I
look,
know.
you still had all these orders. Look, I always tell people my first company, we had an ugly ass website for like to us 5 years. We didn't do any branding, real branding until we had a VC who had it in house. But you know what? We became a multi-million dollar company off the ugly site.
I know. No, my website marketing girl, like I said, we've worked together 4 years. She has the best saying. I cannot take credit. It's because it's hers, but she says scrappy gets it done.
Period. Always, always.
And I think sometimes the scrappy, like if you see somebody scrappy, you better watch out. Don't be scared about the person that's
Mhm.
got the big marketing budget or the big team. Don't be scared of them.
Oh
Better
no.
be scared of the scrappy person because they're a little crazy, but they're gonna make
Yep.
it happen.
Oh, one of my favorite things in the entrepreneurial space, I have a lot of friends that run really large programs and they're just like, Alex, you hit way above your weight class.
Yeah.
They're like, the way you're performing with way less resources, like what? So I totally agree. What do you feel is something a lot of entrepreneurs are not honest about that you wish they would be?
Not honest about that I wish they would be. Just how freaking hard it is.
Mm,
How freaking hard it is. I think there's some of them that you just like, you look at them and you're like, I guess, I don't know, somebody just handed them that $100 million business. I'm not quite sure because all you ever see are just like these perfect, everything is perfect. I think
mhm.
that the majority of the people who truly have built a business successfully from scratch and truly scaled it um, probably don't put that out there because it probably would
Yeah.
scare the daylights out of a lot of people how hard it is.
And I want people to scare the daylights out of people. Like, you know how many people love true crime because they want to be scared. They want to understand what could happen. And it's not meant to be like look over your shoulder all the time, but it's similar to any profession. Just like not everyone should be a doctor, not everyone should be a lawyer, not everyone should be an entrepreneur. And we have this culture now that anyone can be an entrepreneur and you can just get started and become a millionaire overnight. I'm like, no, you can't.
No,
And this is not for everybody. And that's anything in life. So, yes, I love this.
let me tell you something that this sounds crazy, but nobody ever warned me of this. And if I was advising somebody new that came to me and was like, I want you to consult me, I'm starting this new brand, whatever. And they probably wouldn't get this initially, but the advice I would give them is be careful because it might work.
Ooh, Period.
And that brings a whole nother set of challenges. And nobody
Yep.
sits you down and warns you about those, unfortunately.
Oh, we again, this goes back to puberty. We crave growth. Like, remember when we were a kid, we are like, I can't wait till I'm an adult. And you're like, as adults, I see this with my nieces and nephews where I'm like, oh babe, you just wait. You get those, you don't know about bills. You think it's glamorous to be able to go out. I'm like, those adults are in the bar weeping over how much money they're spending on
Yes.
rent and inflation and all that. And I think with businesses too, people really crave growth and scale. And I always ask people, I'm just like, ask yourself this, are you really about that life and the responsibility that comes with people like the idea of success
Yep.
and seeing the people in successful businesses because they see a number.
Yeah.
But I'm like, do you know what you have to give up?
Baby, you better be able to be ready to put it all on the line. All on the
All of it. I mean, so much risk. And that's not for everybody. I have a friend who is an attorney. And she's like, I love funding entrepreneurs. She was like, I don't want your life. She was like, I like to clock in and clock out. And that's all you get from me.
I know.
I don't want to work overtime. I'm like, God bless you. God
It
bless.
it's an interesting parallel. And I think it's something that if any entrepreneur were being honest, they would admit is that you can't help sometimes but think back to your life as like an hourly employee or a salary where you were able to like clock in and clock out and go home and like the day is done for you. You know what I mean? As long as you can turn it off,
Hmm.
which a lot of people can. Whereas with an entrepreneur, it is quite literally you never get to turn it off. And so
Nope.
sometimes I do miss that a little bit about my prior work life, being able to go to the hospital, clock in, do my time, leave, and then I don't have to think about it again until I'm there to clock in again. You don't get that luxury in this journey, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
that is part of the sacrifice.
And then what comes is being able to turn it off when it's like, okay, now I need to, and how
Yeah.
hard that becomes because you're like, I need to be on, I need to be accessible. That is so hard. And yes, I love this. I wish more people knew that because we glamorize, people love seeing a number or whatever. And I'm just like, there are trade-offs in everything. And even I'm realizing as, in this stage of my life as an entrepreneur versus when I started my first company at 19, I realized I'm like, I'm not going to do another VC backed company because now my priorities are different.
Yes.
My priorities are different. You can't get that much time out of me. You can't, I need more boundaries in my life. I want softer. I
Yeah.
want softer. 10 years ago, that was a little different.
I think it is truly, I think you hit on this earlier. It is really all about context and what
Mm-hmm.
a person defines success as. And that's going
Yep.
to be different for you, for me, for anybody else. I work right now and have the last 4 years, I would say often like 16, 18-hour days.
Yep.
I hope not to always do that. I don't think that's sustainable.
It's not,
I think
it's
in the
not.
growth phase, it could be necessary. Uh,
Absolutely. There's seasons for everything.
yes,
There
yes,
is a season, but it's kind of like, for example, a season in nature is not sunshine all the time.
oh,
It's not always winter, but you're going to go through seasons and you have to adjust per each season. So there's stages of the company that you need to be more on, and there's some stages where you need to actually step back,
yeah.
and that's totally fine.
My dad, I guess this is related. I hope so. But my dad told me recently, he was saying that going back to kind of the Christian and spiritual conversation we had earlier, he said his pastor had mentioned everybody you meet is either coming out of a storm, in a storm, or headed into a storm.
Mm.
And when he told me that, it really just kind of helped me frame that it's the same in business. You're always either you're coming out of one, you're in one, or you're going into one. And
Ooh.
so I think that that wisdom or that, him telling me that has really kind of helped me, like we said earlier, don't fight, just kind of let it take you and realize that is just part of the process of the journey.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. So, Lacey, my final question for you. We do this podcast because Get You Done is all about how can we revolutionize what business success looks like.
Yeah.
And that means it's going to be unique to everybody else, like, or everybody. Everyone's going to have, for you, it's one thing, for someone else. But I think we have been fed this story that success looks like a lot of times in the last 10 years, billion dollar valuation, $1 billion in the bank.
Mhm.
And we're seeing how detrimental that has become.
Right.
And so I think it's when people can hear like success can be anything you want it to be.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you, when you think about success from when you started this company to now,
Mhm.
how has success evolved for you, and what does that look like today?
So when we first started the business, I would say if the business were successful, that would mean that maybe it were making enough money for me to take some trips every year, as an example. That was really kind of, let's just call it my initial, like, this is what it'll mean when the company's successful. I'll just have an extra income, if you will. Today, it is my primary income for my entire household. But the part that has made me feel successful is it allows me, if I need to take my kids to therapy, to a doctor's appointment, to school, if I need to go to a football game, no matter what I need to do, I can walk away, I can plan my day and make that happen and be present for them. And so that, while I would not have said that was my definition initially, I would say today that is definitely a huge piece of feeling successful, is being able to like be a present mother, be involved with my kids, show up for them when they need things, and be able to completely like work my schedule around them, and kind of have the best of both worlds. With my, previous job, I never could have said, I'm leaving the hospital to go do, XYZ for my kids. It just doesn't work like that. And so I really just think it depends on the person and like what kind of life you want to live. I hope, my goal for my company is to continue to scale and get to a place where I can step out of the being in it all day, every day, 16, 20 hours, and work less, but the time I do work be really strategic and really focused, and be present with my children even more than I am now. So I'm grateful for what I do get, and I'm working towards a successful future that's going to involve even more time with them and less time here, hopefully having teams in place to kind of do the things I'm doing now.
I love this. So for those listening in that are like, we love Laci's vibe, we want to follow her journey, we want to get some saltwater boys clothing for our kiddos, how can they be connecting with you?
So they can go to saltwaterboysco.com. And then they also can find us on social media under Saltwater Boys Co. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, I would love to connect with anyone who's excited about, growing their business, starting a business. I'm really, truly passionate about women entrepreneurs. I think we are just so undervalued and kind of taken for granted in what we can do. I think we can be really scrappy and get stuff done.
The recording has stopped.
Amazing. Laci, I know we're 7 minutes over. Thank you for your time. I had so much fun with you. Thank you so much.
Too, truly, I'm seriously not just being polite. I truly enjoyed that.
Oh, this was fun.
I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm now a fan of yours. I think you are a great storyteller. Not everyone is great at being off the cuff, so
Yeah.
I'm really excited for you. I will let you know. We usually do like a month and a half out. So when your episode is ready, I'll reach out and we'll have the assets and the links and everything. But in the meantime, if anything comes up where you'd like support, there's no expiration date on that, please feel free to reach out. I'm so appreciative that you reached out and that you were on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to follow along and watch what you do. It's really important work, truly.
Thank you so much. Well, in the meantime, enjoy your long weekend and we'll chat soon.
I will. Sounds good, Alex. Take care.
Thanks, Laci. Bye.